How much is radio advertising? Very good question, because there are some variables that go into this and it can be very, very confusing, but hopefully I'm going to distill it down to a few of the basic components so you're going to have a much better understanding of how radio stations come up with their charging structure, how much it will cost, and good stuff like that, and hopefully not catch you off guard. So let's dive in. All right, by the end of this video, you're going to realize and you're going to see some of the components and some of the elements that go into radio station pricing. And that will hopefully make things a lot easier for you to make wise decisions that are much more beneficial for your business when it comes to radio. So let's go. There's a term in radio advertising that it's kind of the one that they've settled on that kind of levels the field for everybody. You could be the #1 station in the market, or you could be this little tiny AM station that has like a broadcast radius of 2 miles in diameter and, you know, just play satellite information the entire time. There's just background noise. But the number that they like to use to get things even across the board when it comes to prices and costs, you can see who costs more, who costs less, is CPM. It's cost per mille, M-I-L-L-E. It's the prefix for mille, which is 1,000, like millimeter or millisecond or milliliter, something like that, 1,000. So cost per thousands. So 1,000 people listening, how much is it going to cost to reach that 1,000 people? Well, at any particular time, obviously, well, chances are you're going to have more than 1,000 people listening. So it all boils down to the 1,000. Now, suffice it to say, one commercial, just one commercial, playing at 2 o'clock in the morning on the number 30 rated station in the market is going to cost a lot less than one commercial during the highest day part, probably morning drive, during the morning drive show, at the #1 station in the market. The differences can be staggering. Maybe only tens of thousands of people listening at 2 o'clock in the morning, maybe hundreds of thousands listening at 6:30 in the morning during drive time, 6:30, 7, 7:30, 7:45. Those are the prime times of any radio station. And of course, reverse that at the end of the day, everybody driving home. What is it, 5, 6, 6:30, 7 o'clock even, depending on people's commutes. So those are going to be the two big things to consider: drive time and what ranking the station is in the market. Now, some stations don't have rankings. Some markets don't subscribe to the ranking system. For example, if you're like way out in the middle of nowhere and there's only 3 or 4 stations that are even in the broadcast radius, and that radius happens to reach maybe 60,000 people, they're really not going to be duking it out, okay? Depending on the format, depending on the station, you'll be able to judge based on stuff like if they do live remotes. How many people start showing up to a live remote? So if you go, let's say if the car dealership is having a live remote and you own the pizza place, it might be a good idea for you to at least just swing by and see what the activity is. And then when another radio station comes out and has a live remote at the exact same car dealership, you drive by again. What's the pull now? So depending on some stuff like that, some basic feedback like that, you might be able to tell which is the better station to go with in your neighborhood. Of course, format has a lot to do with it as well. What type of music are they playing? Or are they even playing music? Maybe it's a talk station. Maybe it's a sports station. Depending on what they're playing, that's also going to tell you who's listening. For example, once you get to know your formats, let's say the top 40 or the hot AC, adult contemporary, the hot AC station, that's the stuff that's going to be the top 40 right now. The real big hits, the stuff that constantly comes into the market, you know, comes onto the airwaves. Maybe something's on for a couple weeks at #1 and then something else knocks it off the top. That type of heavy churn hits, those are probably going to be anywhere between 18 and 35, maybe 40-year-olds. I can tell you right now, classic rock is a very heavily male-dominated, slightly older demographic, maybe 35 at the youngest, 40 to 65, maybe even 75 listens more to classic rock. So who's your audience? Who are the people who come into your store and buy? What do they look like? Are they the younger college-age crowd, or are they the more established business person, or are they retirees? So depending on what the radio station is playing, that might be who you go with, and you may just have to take an educated guess. Like I said, in smaller markets that don't have any rating systems, your best bet would be to try and pinpoint the average listener, and does it match up with the demographics of your average customer. Think of radio just like TV. A particular show, a particular format is going to appeal to a certain segment of the audience. Are they listening? For example, if you picked New York City, there's 302 square miles to New York City. Now, in that 302 square miles, you have 8.3 million people. That's a lot of people that are going to hear your one radio commercial. Now, let's switch over to, let's say, Jefferson County, Pennsylvania. Why Jefferson County, you say? Well, just because you probably know it, but you didn't realize you knew it. That's where Punxsutawney Phil is from, the very famous groundhog that always predicts the weather. Remember him? Spring is right around the corner. That Punxsutawney Phil. Punxsutawney is in Jefferson County, Pennsylvania. Their total land mass, just the county, is over 600 square miles, twice the size of New York City. But yet Jefferson County has 43,000 residents. Big difference. Twice the size, 43,000. Half the size, 8.3 million. Who do you think is going to charge more because they've got more ears? Which radio stations, New York or Punxsutawney? Exactly. That's also something that comes into the formula. Now, if you're a B2C business, this is the kind of stuff that we cover here, especially when it comes to your business YouTube channel, your business podcast, your blogs, and your radio advertising. And in fact, there is a very smart way to blend all four of those together and have them work together as opposed to being separate. You can do them separately, but there's also a very powerful way to get them to work together. And I hope you would make this your number one stop, your home for getting that advertising together for you if you're going to build your YouTube channel, your podcast, your blog, and get your radio advertising going. So make this your home. Click subscribe. Click subscribe and you won't miss a single episode where we go over anything from writing a radio commercial to what lighting to use for your next video shoot. We do it all right here for you. Some other things to consider are how many spots per week are you going to be running? There's a big difference between picking one sponsorship, let's say Tuesday morning, the weather sponsorship at 7:40 versus 6 in the morning till 7 at night, Monday through Friday, running 5 to 10 commercials a day. There's a big difference there. They also have two different objectives in mind and different ways to leverage them. The big one, 6 to 7p, that's a much broader net, whereas the one that's just diving into one specific time slot, that's how you create your own time spent listening. And time spent listening reaches people again and again and again, and it's the repetition that makes your advertising so much more effective. 6A to 7P is a little bit of a roll of the dice. Not really, but a little bit, especially compared to the 7:40 time slot when you know there are going to be some key people listening at that time every single morning. We're creatures of habit, especially in our morning routines, and that would be a great way to target a specific segment of the audience to get them to hear your ad multiple times. What is the CPM? What is the cost per mil? One station's going to be more than the other. You're going to want to look at those at least side by side. Is it worth it to go for the higher CPM? Sometimes it makes sense. Other times, hey, if you're on a tight budget, go for the lower CPM. If it works for you, go for it. Run with it. The length of the spot may have something to do with it. Sometimes radio stations will charge either whether it's a 30 or a 60, and sometimes they'll charge by the unit. In other words, they can put 5 commercials in a spot break. Doesn't matter if it's 30 or a 60. Every unit has the price. Some, like I said, will charge 30 versus 60 because the 60 does take twice as much time. So depending on how they charge it, depending on how they look at it, may come in to affect your budget. And finally, especially when you're in smaller market radio stations, they may have your on-air staff reading the commercials. They very typically end up being all the talent that the radio station has to pull from. Now, if they've got 3, 4, 5 stations under one roof, it's very easy for the country station jocks to be doing the hot AC station commercials and vice versa. That way the voices sound like they're out of market. You can specifically ask for, say, the morning show host to do your commercial. Now, the very popular morning show host, that is going to be like an endorsement. People are going to recognize that voice, especially on that station, and ultimately the morning show host, especially when they do an endorsement like that, is probably going to be getting a little bit of a talent fee. So that's going to increase your price as well. If they're able to mix things up a little bit and make voices sound more out of market or more generic, like I said earlier, swapping voices for stations or something like that, then you're going to be getting a very good price. That's going to be the lowest that they could possibly go. So now that you've got a couple things that you can work with, the next radio station rep that comes to you, you've got a few solid questions to ask them. And I guarantee you, when you start firing stuff like, okay, what day part am I looking at? And what's the cost per million? What's the cost per mil? The CPM on this one? Oh, really? Okay. When you start throwing terms like that, then they're going to know that they are talking to a very smart radio buyer. To help you with your commercials, whole nother animal, I have a radio commercial checklist for you. Fill out this form every single time you do a new radio ad to help you stay focused and what you're going to be doing. Whether you end up writing the script yourself or you end up giving it to the radio station to have them write it, whatever you're going to do, they will have strict parameters to follow, and that will get you a much, much better commercial than, dare I say, 98% of the stuff that's on the radio right now. Trust me, a lot of it's bad, but there are a few things you can do to make it really good. And get your checklist right now by clicking on the link in the description. I'm Nick Natarella from AdWise Creative. Thank you for watching.